Welcome to the Sacred Rebels podcast. This is your host, Tay.
And co-host Amy.
We're the podcast that fearlessly dives into the depths of holistic healing. Join us as we empower you to embrace your divine journey, confront sexual trauma, conquer addictions, and rise with confidence with life after trauma. It's time to unlock the sacred rebel within and enter a transformative path to self-discovery and healing.
We are here to trigger you. By shattering stigmas and questioning societal norms, join us as we explore diverse stories of men and women showcasing that there's not one way to heal and the importance of community. Together, we will navigate the evolving human experience, embracing paths to growth and understanding. Let's heal, baby!
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Sacred Rebels. We're so excited to have Mariah Larocque here tonight. She is a woman of many things and talents, and I can't wait to introduce her after we do our big deep breath.
One hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. Really expel all the energy out. Inhale in through the nose. Open your heart, open your mind, and then exhale, just let it go.
So, Mariah is here from Maine today joining us. She is incredible. She was Miss Maine 2021, but right now she is a director, producer, filmmaker, all of the things. She just had a beautiful movie come out called Good Morning Sunshine, and the message behind it is beautiful. She does a lot in that community of child sex trafficking and all of those things. So we just can't wait to hear her story, her mission, her purpose, and she pulled a card for us. We're really excited to hear what the card is.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes.
I really appreciate you guys bringing me here and giving me the opportunity to share and learn more about you guys, and I'm really excited.
We're so excited.
Yeah, this is an awesome card. It says Moonset Releasing, and pretty much the message is the first line of what it says, which is it's time to let go. And I do think that I've been in a season of being aware of letting go. You know, different things I'm holding on to, or either are wishing for, hoping for, feeling I need control over, or things of my past that I continuously let either drive me or impact me. Just trying to be aware of those things and seeing those things and trying to let it go. So it's actually, for me, it's very, it's poignant.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
I love that so much.
It must have been the energy in here. I just did a sound bath, and the entire sound bath was about letting go and acceptance.
Oh, wow.
Really
Yeah,
sick.
that's so great.
I think we're all in a season right now. I truly do. I think that that's been like the general consensus from our community is like we're in a season of letting go or new chapters or starting new or finding new hobbies or passions. It's like time to release so we can welcome the new. And I just love that. Spring equinox, you know, spring's here, which, I mean, hello, we just had a snowstorm. Like, what the fuck? New England.
New England.
Why New England? Why?
So upset about it.
So upset about
I
it.
was like, we were doing so well.
I know. We were doing so well. We were on the right path.
Yeah.
So I am just, I mean, I was so excited to have you here. I've been following you for a while. And when I saw the release of your movie, I was like, oh my God, like her purpose, her mission, like it just aligns with what we stand for and like what we're trying to bring to the community here. So I really want to, you know, first start off with a little bit of your story, who you are, like how you grew up in Maine and kind of what brought you to this point of here, especially like pageant lifestyle, all the things.
Yeah. So fun fact, I actually grew up in Derry, New Hampshire. I was born in North Carolina. My family moved here. I went to Pinkerton Academy, and then after I graduated high school, yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 28. So I graduated in 2014.
My husband's like 5 years older than me. I'm 28 too, but yeah. So
yeah.
he's older, but he went to Pinkerton.
Oh, cool.
So I was like, wait, what year?
My whole family went to Pinkerton too, so it was kind of like meant to be that we, anyway. So I graduated there, loved it. You know, I've been in the arts my whole life. My first play was Honk. I was a duckling in Honk, and I was 5. And then I just never stopped. And I went all the way through middle school, high school, doing theater. I got my degree at the University of Southern Maine in theater. And then I never left Maine, pretty much. So I really loved the program. I loved being able to dive deep in what I was learning there. And Yeah, never left. I fell in love with Portland. I'm living in Portland right now. Feel really blessed to be there. And yeah, so my last semester of college, it was in the middle of the pandemic, and I was trying to finish up my degree virtually. And I had one more credit I needed to sign up for. And at the time, my boyfriend at the time encouraged me to take a screenwriting class, because obviously theater was kind of a sticky situation to be in at the time.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, is theater going to make it? Will there ever be live performances again? And so I think a lot of us were questioning. I was getting my degree in theater in a time where we never knew if theater was going to, like, Broadway was going to survive, live theater was going to survive. So it kind of was
scary.
Yeah, it was kind of like, what am I even doing? And so he encouraged me to sign up for a screenwriting course, and I'm really glad for that, because it really kind of changed the trajectory of my passion. I'll always have a passion for live theater. I'll always have a passion for the arts, but it kind of started to morph into this passion for screenwriting and film. I started getting more interested in film. I had been signed by Dirigo Talent Agency, which is a talent agency up in Maine, and I had done some commercials. And when I was younger, I was in a film with my mom, but my heart was just so much more for the stage. But obviously, having experienced what I experienced when I was younger, it was this story and this really awful hardship that I endured, that I kept inside of me for so long. And I did things to try to help myself, like going to therapy and, just treating myself kindly as I could, despite how hard it was. It was definitely something that I held on to. And he encouraged me to take the screenwriting class, because I had alluded to the fact that at some point I thought it would be interesting to write it as a film.
It has such a powerful message too behind
and for the message, right? So it was this dual. It was very scary, and it was definitely something that I didn't share with anybody that I was thinking of, except for him at the time. And I was just saying, like, wow, maybe it would help me heal more. Maybe it would help others heal. Like, maybe I should just do it. Maybe I should just take the class and just make this my personal project, because in this class, by the end of the semester, you had to either write a pilot TV show or a feature-length film. Yeah, so I took the opportunity to kind of challenge myself and write a film. I was just about complete by the time the semester ended, but I kept writing after I graduated, and I completed the feature script, and I sent it into some film festivals. It won a couple of awards, which
incredible.
I was really excited about. But when you write a film, I still am learning so much about the industry. I mean, I have so much to learn, but I love learning by doing. I'm a full, like, jump in all the way kind of person.
Same.
Yeah, trial by fire, right? And and it's been such an incredible journey. Just thinking back to when it was just this kind of idea, and now, I mean, having done it, I can't even tell you how much it has impacted me, how it's changed me. Mm-hmm. It's helped me grow. It's helped me feel stronger. I feel like I freed myself from what I went through, which is like one of the best gifts I could have given myself, And then on top of that, throughout the past 4 years since I started, to have heard people entrust me with their stories, or come forward, or ask for help, or share something, or seek, how to get involved. I mean, there's so many facets of this thing that just are so meaningful to me. Yep. But yeah, I guess to be more specific, now that I think about it, I haven't really touched on it, but I like to refer more to the film when I describe my story, because the film is based on
your story,
on my story. But so the proof of concept is a 22-minute film that follows a young middle school girl, and she has a inappropriate moment with her teacher. He makes inappropriate advances with her, and she has known and felt that something was wrong, and it wasn't until this moment that she really, really realized that something is wrong. And she goes to get help from her faculty, and nobody believes her. And she's actually told that she's lying, and so she's forced to apologize, and she's handed back into the arms of her predator. So that's pretty much the proof of concept, but the feature film, which is really what I'm passionate about, it goes on to show her life after being a little girl.
I know, it left me like,
wanting
more.
Yes, yeah.
Like, what is happening?
Yeah, so the feature film will follow her through her, her young teens and into her young adult life, and kind of show how when you're a child, when you seek help from adults and they reaffirm what you were coping with privately, and they kind of like
dismiss you,
and it changes the wiring in your mind, because you feel like you're reaching out for help. You feel like you're doing the right thing, but then you're told it's the wrong thing. So that just can change everything, and how that one moment can impact the rest of somebody's life. And obviously I feel like I always want to say, when you come to a point in your life, you're an adult now, you have to start taking responsibility for your actions and the things you choose and do. But I think more so the point is we so often dismiss, or we surmise one thing, and we say, oh, it's just that. But no, it's not just that. It's a ripple effect that can take place, and you have no idea that when you didn't trust or believe in someone, how that could make them not trust themselves, not trust other people, the decisions they make as they get older. It really is a ripple effect, and it takes that child that much longer to trust themselves, to find people they can trust, to believe in themselves.
So it's so hard, because children are so disempowered, and children, come to you or have these experiences, and if we're not, willing to teach them how to trust themselves, right? It may be good for some other people, but if it doesn't feel good for you, it doesn't feel good for you, and that's okay. And empowering, trusting your instincts.
Right.
As children. Because it's like, no, that wouldn't happen. They don't act this way, or whatever it is. Putting your ideas into children's heads.
Or them dismissing you, in the film. She's basically nope, you came here and you made this up because of what happens in your home life and what happens to you at home. It's no.
Right. Right. So it's crazy to think that this happens often.
Oh.
So much more often. Too often. Right. Which is another thing that made me feel like this is definitely a story that is important and impactful and needed, because, and I know that there's so many areas that you can go down and you say, oh, well, how do you handle it every time? But the way that I look at it is, in a school setting, if a child comes to you regardless of anything, there are proper, and now there's mandatory laws that are in place in which you have to follow, regardless of whether it's true or false. You have to report it. You have to take certain steps. And at the time, those weren't in place. So yeah, I mean, and I just encourage and hope that everybody realizes that, like you were saying, even if a child's wrong, helping correct them in a prosperous, good, nurturing and loving way is so much better than dismissing them and gaslighting them and making them feel like they don't know, because it's just gonna the trajectory, it's so easily shifted. And I know everybody's trying their best, and most people are good people, but unfortunately there can be some
bad ones.
Some people that don't have the best intentions. And that's another thing too that I hope to highlight is, I think a lot of people, as you get older and you find work, or you get involved in organizations, you realize the chain of power within organizations, within school systems, within big multi-million-dollar companies and whatnot. And I'm all about I'm just all about the truth. I'm all about doing what's right.
So are we.
Yeah.
May all truths be revealed.
Yeah. And it's...
May all truths be revealed.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And it's just and the more I've fought for that, and the more in my life I've stood up for what's right, even when it's gotten me blacklisted, it's gotten me kicked out, it's gotten me the shit.
Yeah.
I still stand by it, and I still try to stand up for it. And two, it makes it that much more easy for me to see it when it's happening. Because I've been spending my life being like, I can see what you're doing. You can't see what you're doing. Like you're not pulling the wool over anyone's eyes here.
Yeah.
You know, and they hate it. And I hope that it just wakes people up in the sense that like you can't get away with stuff anymore. And if you try to, unfortunately, at one point or another, the truth will be revealed, and you're going to have to suffer the consequences and learn from your actions. So. Yep.
Ooh, can you say that again?
I'm like,
Louder for the people in the back.
Suffer the
Eventually it all comes around.
Yeah.
Eventually it all comes around, and you can try and manipulate and lie and, use your power, right? Like the people in power having this role that they're above people, that they're, and people use that in a way that's not good.
Right.
And eventually it all comes back.
Yep. It all comes back.
Or karma.
comes back.
Like,
Yeah.
I truly believe in universal karma. Like, what you give out, you receive. You're going to act like a shit human. You're going to be treated like shit in the future. Like,
Universal law is as real as gravity.
it really is.
It is. What
so-
you put out is coming back.
Yep.
Yep.
Good or bad.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And we all have good and bad in us, and I think that we all try our best, and that all weighs out. And so, because how do I say this? When I was first making this movie, I had to ask myself my intentions. You know what I mean? Because it was very it's very vulnerable. I mean, there's some stuff in this that, especially in the future, once I make it, I mean, it's not easy for me, and I also don't want to be looked at as somebody that's also like,
Putting
I don't
your
know.
heart on the table, literally.
Yeah.
Heart, story,
or
truth,
like,
all
is
of
it vengeful? Is it this? Is it
Yeah.
that? Like, I don't want my intentions to be wrong either, So definitely always trying to be like asking myself, like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
What is the purpose? And it's definitely not to be, vengeful or
Vindictive or-
vindictive.
yeah.
It's more, my heart is so much more leaning in, I just, my healing, like I said, I can't even tell you how freeing it's been for me
bet.
to not have this eating me inside, and also the other people, and obviously to be able to lock arms with other organizations that are making like real true impacts in communities, like Thrive New England. It's an organization that I've been with since 2020, and they are boots on the ground. They are restorative and preventative care for young teens and people who are coming out of trafficking situations, and to know that I'm partnering with them and that I've been able to be with them for so long. And now, since they helped me with the premiere, and they've been encouraging me all along, and I would say that they're one of the reasons that I've been able to find my voice and use it as well. That's so meaningful to me. So I do think that, like, regardless, we're all, the yin and yang, the dark and the light. I think that it's important that you're, constantly evaluating your intentions in the world and what you're really trying to put out, and why. And I think that makes up who you are, so.
And
Yeah.
it steps you out of, you're doing this for your healing. You're not a victim, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
Not
in
a
those
victim.
moments, like we are, yes, like we are, but we're not responsible for the way that other people treated us. That was
Right.
their own pain, right? So
Right.
stepping out of that,
Yeah.
where you're not a victim. Okay, this happened to me, and how can I help heal myself, and then help it not continue to happen
Exactly.
to the
Again.
next person.
Exactly.
And that's it. Because sometimes, people get in that idea of like, oh, she just wants this, like, coddling, or that she
Yeah.
was a victim.
Right.
Like, no, it's
No.
not about that.
Yeah.
It's there's power in vulnerability. There's
Yes.
strength in vulnerability.
Yes.
There's,
Say it
you
again.
know what I
I
mean?
love
It's
that.
not.
It's so true.
It's not. It's for a purpose.
Right.
You're turning your pain into purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and another thing I really am grateful for, and to be able to be doing, is like the donations that are made towards the film right now. 10% of that goes towards the organization, so it's
Amazing.
like real.
Yeah.
It's really helping, and the rest will go towards hopefully making the feature film, which again will help in a different way. And that's another thing that I love to share, is just that like parallel to the hardships I went through in my life. So this started when I was 12 years old. I had already been in the arts since I was 5, and it was just always a great outlet for me. And this entire chapter of my life from 12 until 2019, it didn't end for 9 years. So that was a good majority of my adolescence into my young adult life. But the entire time I had the arts. And I know the arts aren't for everybody, but I think there is so much to say about it, because I really do think that it saved me,
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, like, watching the film and seeing what you went through at home behind the scenes, And then seeing what you've done with your life is just also another testament to who you are and who your soul is and what your mission is. No, seriously, because a lot of people could take that and they could use it as an excuse to act a certain way or, you know, to
And I'm excuse me, I'm so grateful that you know, I do believe that at some point you do have that choice, you know, and I think that because I always found a community and found my fulfillment in the arts, and it's funny because, like I was saying earlier, I get very nervous to talk, but I can be on a stage all day long and be a character. It's just where my passion is. It's where I feel most confident in who I am and what I have to offer.
And so you had community.
And I had community, people that felt the same way as me, people that were there for the same reasons. And I think I was able to cultivate a confidence in myself that I wasn't able to do outside of the arts. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I would struggle with and I still do, you know, struggle with my self-esteem, struggle with my self-worth, struggle with knowing who I am. But it's like I step into the theater with my theater colleagues and friends and peers, and I'm like, I know who I am. I belong here. Like, okay, like there's something about this. And I just, you know, I hung on to that. And here I am. I'm going to Maine Media to get my master's degree in filmmaking. I mean, I feel so aligned. And I feel like that parallel with all the hardship in my life really just saved me. And it anchored me to my truth. And now I feel excited because I do feel like I'm seeing dreams that I never even dreamt coming true. And like manifesting hopes and realities that I'm cultivating in real time. Is just like I just feel so blessed. I feel so grateful. Yeah,
it's a gift.
It is. Yeah, and I don't know. I feel thankful for everything I've been through and the journey that I've been on, and I'm just so excited. I know
it's incredible. Right, it really is. It's so cool. On a more lighthearted note, I want to know what it's like to run in pageants and what it's like. I mean. I can't even wrap my head around it.
Okay. Well, buckle up because I have a crazy story for you. I don't know if you know about my entire journey in the Miss America system, but it's a crazy one. So I'd love to share it with you guys. So one of the only reasons that I started competing in pageants was because I did not know how I was going to afford college. I did not know a lot about financial aid. I didn't know a lot about like scholarships, and I just knew it was very expensive. And I was like, how the heck am I going to do this alone?
Pay for this, yeah.
So it was like right around near my senior year being done. I believe it was like summer of 2014. So I must have already graduated. It's hard to remember that long ago now.
I know, right?
When was it? Mm-hmm. But anyway, so competed in my first local title here in New Hampshire. It was Miss Seacoast, and I won. And it was kind of like a bug. Once I got bit, I was like, okay, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
And that continued my journey. I competed here for 4 years, I believe. I was third runner-up to Miss New Hampshire in 2016, which was the highest I'd ever placed at the state level here. And then, you know, I took a break after competing for 4 years because it's a lot.
Yeah,
you know, you're gown shopping, you're working out all the time, you're, you know, watching the news, you're studying how to, you know, you're in interviews, you're constantly talking, and that's outside of school and being in plays and all that stuff. So
being a young adult,
it can be a lot. So took a little bit of a break from it, and at that point I had been going to school in Maine, and Maine was starting to feel like my home. And I said to myself, at the time there was an age cutoff, and over the years they've kind of bumped it up a little bit, but at the time I was like, oh, this might be my last year with the age cutoff they have at the time. So
what's the age cutoff?
I think now it's 28, but at the time I think it was 26 if I'm not if I'm not recalling incorrectly. But so at the time I was like, you know, I want to compete in the state that feels most like home now. And so I signed up to compete, but then COVID hit, so it was, you know, they canceled the competition and they pushed it a year out. So they grandfathered me in. I went and I competed, and I won the title of Miss Maine 2021, which was so fulfilling. I felt
so awesome.
Just so wonderful. I love Maine. I love Portland. I loved the experience. It was really a blessing. And it just felt like a full circle for me because, you know, competing for so long, you always hope that you'll be able to get that. And it's not everybody does. You know, some people compete for 15 years and never earn, the ability to go to Miss America. So I had been working, you know, with the break included, I had been, you know, relatively involved in the Miss America organization through New Hampshire and Maine for about 7 years. And so it felt like a dream come true. I was going to Miss America. I'm a singer. I sang.
Awesome.
I sang every year for competition. And when I first started in the organization, you have to have a platform. And at first, it was substance abuse awareness. And then I believe I was going into trauma, some sort of platform about trauma. I don't know. I can't even remember. And then I moved it eventually when I felt strong enough. I called my platform, my social impact initiative, A Survivor's Purpose, because I felt like I found mine.
Yeah.
And that was for human trafficking and child sexual exploitation. And so for the last, 3-4 years, that's what I felt very confident and very excited to finally feel like I was aligned with what I wanted to talk about personally.
Have on your platform.
Yeah, because I think I was too scared when I first came out, and so came out as in started competing in the Miss New Hampshire organization. I was too scared to talk about my truth, so I was talking about things that were related to me, like, I know what it's like to have a relative that has substance abuse, so I'll advocate for that. Or I know a lot of people that have been through trauma, also alluding to myself, but then it wasn't until I felt more, confident. And I also credit that to the Miss America organization for helping me all those years, finding my voice and helping me feel like I could actually stand on something and feel confident enough to share. So I felt very aligned my year of Miss Maine. I had a survivor's purpose. I was going to sing Whitney Houston at Miss America.
Aww.
Yeah, I was feeling really great. So obviously we were, a year out from COVID. It was 2021, 2022, so a year, 2 years-ish. So people were still, we were still taking COVID tests, and I was prepping a lot. I was going all over the state, volunteering and just representing the Miss Maine scholarship program. Just really doing all the work that you usually do leading up to competing at Miss America.
Did it help you when you won Miss Maine? Did you get money for college?
Oh, yeah. So that's another part of the story.
Well,
100%.
I was going to ask, too, after, what do you have to do to win Miss Maine? What are, the things that you have to do?
Right. Okay. So there's an onstage question. Well, you have to understand, too, I was a part of the OG, and a lot of people that are in Miss America understand this, but, there was, the OG Miss America, and then for, 2 or 3 years, there was a lot of reworking it because things were kind of not going in the direction they wanted. They were struggling to, kind of find themselves again. Yeah, and keep it alive. And so I was a part of the group that was just kind of in the reconstructive phase of it. So, swimsuit had been taken out. There was more of this social impact initiative portion, which before it was swimsuit, onstage question, talent, interview, and evening wear. And then they changed it to no swimsuit. It was onstage question, social impact initiative, evening wear. I can't even remember
talent.
Talent. And then the private interview. So they're just swapping things out, trying to make it new and different. And I do think that they're finding themselves now, and I really think that they're doing well. But yeah, so at Miss Maine, I had my interview with the judges. I had a great, it was, when you go into an interview and you nail it, you just feel that feeling inside your gut. You're that was great. Yeah. I don't feel worried at all.
Yeah.
I just vibed with everybody, and I felt like the conversation, flew by, but in a good way. And it was constructive. I got to, get all my points across. And at this point I was pretty seasoned. So I knew what I was saying. I knew what I wanted to do. And I felt really, very confident. And then my talent, I'm trying to remember, I sang, Astonishing from Little Women, which I had sang before, and just loved that song and felt like it showed off my vocal range, and it also is kind of poignant in the fact that the last line is astonishing at last. She's kind of coming into herself and feeling wonderful and fulfilled and in a line. So felt like that was great for me. And also we did have the social impact initiative portion, so I actually got to speak for, it's either 60 or 90 seconds about my platform. So it was actually one of the first times I stood on a stage with a mic and talked about what I endured as a child and why I was doing what I was doing now. So very it's still hard to talk to a room full of people about it, but I get stronger every time. And that was a moment I won't forget, because I was nervous, but I also felt like I have to do
Empowered,
this.
yeah.
I have to do this, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
And the support I always get has always like really, helped
push
me
you
too.
along.
Yeah.
I feel like the support we get definitely helps, because there's some bad weeks and there's some good weeks, and there's
Yeah.
some hard topics and there's some good ones. And
Yeah.
I feel like because our community is so like, I know for me it's everything. Like
yeah.
the support, truly.
Yeah, it
absolutely.
really makes a difference. So yeah, and then there was like the final question, which I believe it was like, what are you, like, if you were to win the title today, like what are you gonna do first? And I pretty much just said that I'm ready. Like the second I get this, title, I'm ready to start running around this entire state and telling people,
Yeah.
that there are advocates working to, make a difference,
Yeah.
combating human trafficking, stuff like that. So I felt great, and then I earned it, and it was just such a surreal moment.
How
I
long
remember,
does it take to find out? Like from
Oh.
like your interviews to like you won.
That was one whole day. And
Oh,
you have to also
wow.
understand too, so Maine is a smaller state, so they don't have as many competitors as like, let's say New Hampshire. New Hampshire has like 30 people, sometimes more. Texas has like 50, sometimes more. So sometimes
Yeah.
it's like a 3-day competition. Maine only has like, usually the most they have is like 10
Okay.
at around this time. Like within the past couple of years, it's been between like 8 and 10 contestants. So they can just bang that out in a day, whereas
Yeah.
like 30, 50, it's like usually a 3-day competition. But yeah, between my interview and it went from, I think my interview was at like, let's say 10 a.m. and then the competition ended at about 8 p.m. So
Wow.
yeah, just one whole day, blast right through it. And
Wow.
yeah. So
Yeah, they like crown you that day, right?
yeah,
That's
they
the-
crown you right on stage.
That's
and
wild.
Yeah, the like the music, like
All of
I
it.
remember looking up and seeing my family, because they had been supporting me and coming to competitions for like 6 years, and they were like so
This is
excited.
it.
They
This
had
is
my
it.
face on a stick, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Like just jumping up and down, so excited. They all had matching T-shirts, and my mom was elated, and yeah, I'll never forget it. It was just one of those moments where, I don't know, you just feel like you're on the right track.
Yeah.
You feel like
Yeah.
you're doing what you're supposed to do. So spent my year just taking in, the best I could and doing what I could. Again, it was a difficult year in the sense that like it was still so close to COVID that things weren't necessarily normal at all.
Yeah.
So there were things that I couldn't do that maybe some other people could. Like schools were still kind of hesitant to bring in guests and stuff. So I didn't get that many opportunities to go into schools. But I tried not to let that get me down, because, it's really hard to. You don't want to compare your year to
Yeah.
other people's years.
Yeah.
So try to make your year your own. And so did all I could to prepare for Miss America. And I got to Miss America, which was an incredible experience to be there with all of my sister title holders who I'd got to know through social media and through other events throughout the year. Not too many, but we got to get together a few times for a couple days and get to know each other and support each other. And we were, I think we were in dress rehearsal before the day of preliminaries. So I was one day away from prelims, I believe. And I had a tickle in my throat. And in my head, I get very, I have a hidden illness. I have Beckett's disease, and it can impact my autoimmune, and I get very tired. So when I get really tired, I get really sick. So I just thought, maybe I'm just run down. I need to rest. So I tried to push through, but then there came a point where I felt like there's something more going on here, but I didn't want to really let myself believe what was happening. So I asked to be isolated, and I was put in this little this little pop-up tent in the middle of the back end of what looks like it's a really large event center, and it just equated to like a warehouse, a really large warehouse. And up towards the front of it was the stage and the bleachers, or not the bleachers, the chairs, and they makeshift the at the time where we were competing for our preliminaries. So it was like a pop-up stage. And anyway, so there was backdrops, and then the back half of it, where the audience can't see, that's where all the contestants were practicing, having dinner, like there's seats and stuff. So in this whole area, there's this pop-up tent, and there's like a couple of like nurse beds or whatever, I don't even know, like, hospital beds. And so I asked if I could just go lay down, and I laid down, and as I was laying in there, I could hear all of my sister title holders around me. I couldn't see them, but I could hear them, either talking to themselves, like preparing for their speeches, or I could hear them tap dancing, or I could hear them singing. Aww. I could hear them like getting ready and stuff, and I was slowly realizing that I didn't think that I was going to be able to participate. And so a doctor came in, and they brought me back to my hotel room. They made me take a COVID test. I tested positive, and I was disqualified from Miss America. And I am the first and only contestant in 102 years of Miss America to be disqualified from competing because I got COVID. So I was never able to compete even after all of those years. So it was...
Are you kidding?
Yeah,
oh my
no.
God.
It was absolutely devastating. I mean, the scream I scrumped
Wait,
when I found out that I got COVID.
I thought I read somewhere that you got Miss Congeniality, though.
I did. When I was disqualified, all of my sister title holders unanimously voted me as Miss Congeniality, so I also won a $5,000 scholarship, even though I couldn't compete. I watched...
How nice of them.
Yeah. Much love to my sisterhood.
I know. That's so fucked up.
I know. It was awful. It was really, I mean...
I was like not expecting you to say that.
I honestly wish I didn't. I didn't have to, but yeah, it's a part of the story.
Chance to like go back.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry that happened.
Some people were like, there were some people that were like, we're gonna start a petition and get you to go back. But like, you know what? I was laying there, and I just felt like God tell me, there were so many messages in that moment that I was getting. I didn't want to be getting them, but I was realizing that it wasn't going to happen. And obviously in that moment, you think, why me?
Yeah.
Why right now? Really? Out of 100 years of this thing happening, I finally made it, and you're going to pull me?
And it was like literally the 100-year anniversary.
I was there. Like I made it. Like I was there. I was getting ready to perform. I was going to sing Whitney Houston on Miss America stage. I was going to stand and finally use my voice to share my story that I've been working so many years to have the courage to do. And you're going to take me out right now? That's fucked up.
There's something bigger for you.
And so, a lot of people also said that to me, and I've just been holding on to it. I mean, and regardless of how big, how small, like what that means in reality, I actually just feel grateful that I have more confidence in who I am today, even though I still struggle. Like, I feel like that was a gift in itself.
Yeah.
And you still fucking did it.
Yeah, I still won.
You did it. You got there.
Like, you still won Miss Maine.
I did.
You got your opportunity taken. It wasn't like you, flat out just
like did something wrong or didn't make it. Yeah, absolutely. And, it was, I wrote a post not shortly after, and I said something along the lines of, it was never about the destination. It was always about the journey. Because I didn't get to fulfill it, and that didn't matter, because the way, a lot of coaches and a lot of people who support the girls that go and compete, they say only one woman wins Miss America every year, and there's 50 plus girls representing each state that go every year, and only one girl wins. So you can't make that the pinnacle of your life. You have to know more is coming, that who you are in that moment is a great version of you, but there's greater versions of you to come. It's not the end all be all, but I will say it was one of the most devastating moments in my life. It was very crushing. But yeah,
I can only imagine.
It's just about how you go on from there. So how did I do that? I made a movie. I was like, you know what?
Which has such a powerful message.
Yeah, and I was like, if I can't stand on stage in front of a, 10,000 person audience or whatever to say it, I'm going to make a movie so that at any time somebody can watch it and learn and know, and that'll be my advocacy that lives on forever. The work that'll keep going forever. So
beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, and I through my entire experience in the Miss America organization, I earned $60,000, and I paid for my college completely debt free.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Incredible.
Yeah. So it all worked out.
I mean, it worked out how it was supposed to. You went because you wanted a scholarship. You got your scholarship. You got into film school, which is like what you dreamt of.
Yeah.
You just created a movie.
Yeah.
And just like, I'm sorry,
So
what?
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so crazy.
So crazy.
And it
Pain
feels,
into purpose.
Yeah.
Pain into
Pain into
purpose.
purpose.
and to me,
even-
it looks like you're just getting started.
Oh, I hope
this
so.
is
I
just the
feel that way,
beginning.
too.
I feel like this is just the beginning, truly.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for what's to come. Really
What were you going to
excited.
say? I didn't mean to cut you off.
I don't even remember now. It's fine.
The worst. But no.
But I'm just, you did it. Like you, like, even though like all of that, like you did it. And, you know, that might have been the thing that turned you to make the movie,
Yeah.
you know, because
Yeah.
if you won Miss America, you would have been so focused on, you know, doing
That.
it for that
Yeah.
and not doing it for,
Right.
you know, and not that it's not for advocacy or, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like a distraction or
Right.
those kinds of things. Because you still would have been doing your same purpose.
Right.
But
You never know
sometimes-
the influences.
Yeah,
of the way
exactly.
things
I was
happen.
going to say, you
Yeah.
never know how it would have
Right.
turned out different.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to see it anytime that you're in those moments where it's
Yeah.
really hard to see the lesson. But always when you're away from the lesson, you can be like, oh, I see why that happened. I can
Yes.
see why
Yeah.
I made that decision.
Oh, yeah.
And I see why I had to take this detour to learn a few more lessons.
yeah.
You know, and you're just
Hindsight's
like,
crystal clear. Like you
Yeah.
can look back and and when you were once stuck in the muck and you just couldn't see. Like
Right.
I
Yeah.
look back and I'm like,
because it's hard to see it when you're stuck in it.
oh yeah, and when the feelings, the emotions are
Yeah.
raw and it is hard. But because of that, and now that, you know, when I look back, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way sometimes about some things, when you are in the muck now, you can almost like, it makes it easier to be like, hold on.
Yeah.
You know, in 1 week, will I look back at this and be
Yeah.
like, oh, actually.
Yeah, feelings are always temporary. We say it
Right.
all the time. Don't make permanent decisions on temporary feelings because what
Exactly.
you're feeling in the moment,
Yeah.
it's not going to how you're going to feel in a week or
Right.
2 weeks or 2 months. It changes and it shifts so frequently, I feel like, especially for me. So like one way 1 minute and one way the next. But just getting back to a little bit of your childhood too. Like, I don't know if you're comfortable about sharing some things, but your family life, how's family life now after all of this, after you coming forward, after, you know, is this something that your family knew about when it was happening? Is this something that you stayed quiet about, you know, until the release of your movie?
Oh, no, yeah. I was only quiet about it while it was happening for a little while until I finally told my mom what was happening, and it was rough for about 2 years with how to approach the situation and how to handle the situation and you know what would go on.
Like, do you
but-
take legal action? Do you not?
Yeah,
Do you do
like all
these-
that stuff.
Yeah,
and,
certain stuff.
But eventually, you know, he went to prison.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And for a few years, and my family has always supported me and tried to be there for me. You know, my mom's been, you know, a solid rock for me through it all. My grandparents have been there for me. Extended family have supported me. Unfortunately, my dad is there for me, but my parents got divorced at a young age, which I would say was something that was really a rift, you know, and I think that that's a huge thing. And I think it's important to share stories for young kids because when, you know, I think that parents try to do their best. You know, it's not a knock on them, but things happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't understand how those things will impact kids, and it's not their fault that things happen. But when you all of a sudden a child goes from having a nuclear family to a very broken, very tumultuous, you know, relationship with both their parents because of how hard the divorce is, it can cause an unstable living situation, and it can just really uproot them and make them feel disconnected and lost. You know, and that goes for other, so many children go through so many different types of hardships, you know, whether it be substance abuse or, you know, financial hardships that the family, you know.
Yeah.
So, but for me personally, it was divorce. And then my father was also somebody who struggled with substance abuse, and he ended up, crazy story. My the summer between my junior and senior year of college, my dad actually was found dead in his house by my grandmother, by his mom. And he was brought to Parkland Medical Center, and he was announced dead on the ride there, which quickly spread through my family. So I actually endured feeling like my mom told me he died. I started coping with the loss. It went through my family pretty quickly, and we all went to the hospital, and we were put in that, the room that they put the families in and stuff, and we were just waiting, and they ended up telling my family that there was and I don't know the words, so forgive me for like the particular medical procedure, but at the time it was very new. It was like cryo something, and they said, we have this brand new medical procedure that's never been done. We'll tell you all about it. Pretty much we'll put him in a coma, we'll freeze his body, and then we'll thaw him. And
wow.
So when you die, there's a chemical that's released in your body that starts to break down all your organs in your brain. So when you're frozen, it tricks the body into thinking that you're already dead, so it doesn't release the chemical. And then when you reheat, the hope is that your organs will come back to life, your brain will wake up and all that stuff. So they said that if we wanted to, we could try that, and so we did. And so he was placed in a coma, and then he was frozen, and that was pretty wild. And then he ended up coming back to life, and when he did come back to life,
what?
Yeah.
What the? What is happening?
Yeah, and when he did come back to life, it took a little while, but he went through all the stages of like infancy to like toddler.
Wow.
Like cognizant wise. So it was interesting. Like he lost the ability to write, speak, read, do anything. But over the course of like a week, 2 weeks, we watched him progress through all the stages of life back to adulthood.
Wow.
Yeah, it was wild.
I have goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
That is insane.
Yeah, that was probably a really a pivotal moment in my life to have witnessed that.
And
with
how
my
is
father.
he now?
He
Did
lives
he go
on
back
his
to
own.
drugs?
He still suffers with alcoholism. Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately.
Yep, and he tries, but I don't think that after he came back, he was ever necessarily fully normal again. I'm not sure if there's anything. I do know that he has some memory loss.
There's got to be something. Like if you were dead and you come back to life, like there's got to be some type of
something. Yeah. And he knows a lot. He does have some memory loss from things of the past. But he it's a miracle. He lives on his own. I mean, he drives. He swims.
How long was he dead for? Clinically, like
I'm not sure. I can't remember the exact amount of minutes.
Do you ask him if he remembers? Like any, like I'm always like near-death experiences.
I know,
like,
right? Like, did he see the light?
No. Now he makes a joke that he said, I didn't see a light, but I felt some heat under my ass. And I'm like, you jokester. But he since then, that was 2013. He's a very quiet man. He's a medically discharged Force Recon Marine. He was fantastic in the Marines. I think he was really aligned with his purpose, and he was my hero growing up. I really admired him. He ran so many marathons all over the country. He was an athlete, a runner. He was just my like military hero. You know what I mean? And I still love him to death. It's just, as you get older, you realize the hardships, and it can get hard. And so anyways, like a few months after this medical, I don't even know, this medical miracle, he ended up moving back to North Carolina, where I was born. So he lives probably just 15 minutes from Camp Lejeune, which is the Marine Corps base that he went to, the Marine Corps base I was born on. He lives right off of it, and he's happy there, which I'm happy for, but he's been there for about, 10 years now, going on 11, wow. And I have only seen him a handful of times. I mean, he's happy, and I'm glad for him, but it was hard because it's like, I initially dealt with the concept of his death when I was told he died, right? So I felt that loss. I was like, oh my God, like my world spun. I was like, he's not going to walk me down the aisle. I haven't even graduated high school. And then all of a sudden it was like, we might be able to save him. And then he was in a coma. And so it was really weird. But then when he was better, you celebrate that joy of like, oh my God, you're still alive. You're here. Thank God. And then he moved, and I've only seen him like 7 times
Yeah.
since then. So it was like I almost still lost him in a way, but obviously I need to still be grateful that he's here, because there's
Yeah.
some people that, you know, have endured that loss and can't talk or can't call. So I try to call him and talk to him and stuff, but there's a part of me that does feel like I suffered
still
that
lost
loss
a
too.
part of him.
So the reason I tell that story is because that was also something that I endured along the same path as when all this was going on. And, you know, I do think that the loss of a father figure and not having him and just that turmoil also really impacted me and
Yep.
my perception of love, my perception of trust, and who's there for me and all that stuff too. So,
I relate to that.
So yeah, that was some of the crazy things that was more so going on with my family, but he supports this too, and you know, I'm very blessed and very grateful for the support I've received from my family and friends. I did have a premiere for the proof of concept back in January. I had about 100 people plus turn out, which was so great.
Beautiful.
Oh yeah, I mean, I really couldn't have even dreamt. It was so much more than I had ever thought of in my whole life. That something that I would do, and like you said, once I was there and seeing it, I was like, this is just the beginning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like this, if I can do this now, what am I gonna do in 3 years, 5 years?
And you're still so young.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
you're still so young. And
Really
you have so
hanging
much
on
time.
to hope and just feeling inspired and feeling just supported and excited about the future for what's to come.
It's going to feel better than Miss America.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah, well, you just think about all those children, you know, sex trafficking. It's like people just want to turn a blind eye to it all the time. And it's like hundreds of thousands of children. Like, why isn't this like a national emergency that all these children just go missing? And then there's
Even
so
in
much
here,
proof.
It's like, I think New Hampshire's so safe and this and that. But like,
No.
once you uncover and lift the veil and see how much fucked up shit happens here in our home, I'm like,
What's her name? I always say her name wrong. Get Jezeline, fucking Jeffrey Epstein.
Ghislaine,
Whatever
Ghislaine,
it is.
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Ghislaine.
Was found in New Hampshire.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's like you never know these things until you actually do the research and get acquainted with the idea of all this.
Right.
And until that happens, like, yes, it's uncomfortable to talk about. I get it. But when all this stuff was happening, I was like going nuts and posting all this stuff and so like uproared about it and fucking angry. And my, you know, my husband's like, babe, don't you think that maybe it's just like okay to stay silent? It's like, no, like I am furious, especially when I had my own children and my own trauma. It's like, no, who the fuck is going to speak up for these kids if nobody's doing it?
Right.
And even still, nobody wants to talk about it because it's so uncomfortable. And the movie that came out with Tim, like, he directed and filmed like
Freedom.
Yeah, I made Dill come with me, and we sobbed the whole movie. And yes, it was gut wrenching and made me sick in some parts. And I was just like, oh my God, why would I spend my time watching this? And it's about the message and the purpose. And the more that we get involved, and the more that we talk about it,
And
the more
that
things that will change.
Yeah, you become safe spaces. You become warriors. You become advocates. You become the people that are going to make the change.
I know.
And until the people that keep denying it or keep thinking it's too uncomfortable, they don't realize that they're actually doing a disservice to the safety of the community because they're too uncomfortable to become educated and to become open arms.
Oh, it
for
doesn't
people.
happen. I don't want to go there. It doesn't happen like that. That's all made up. That's in the movies. It's like, no, it does actually happen, and nobody's talking about it because they can't stomach it. How do you think those kids feel?
Right.
They can't stomach it either, but they're living it.
Right.
It's just,
Not all heroes wear capes.
yeah.
Not all. Yes.
You know, like, and like that's what you are. Like, you're a hero and you're a voice and you're out there and you're uncomfortable and
so
you're
sweet.
doing the thing. Yeah, it just
No, seriously.
it's the same.
That's so sweet.
You know,
And
we
it
do it too.
matters.
Like, you know, children, like young us, like coming out about our sexual trauma as children. Like, it is happening. It has happened, and so many people live in the shadows.
Yep.
They live in the shadows and they stay in their own pain and they stay stuck and they can't see, and it's until you're like, no, it's happening, you're not alone in it, and you give people a place to be like, oh my God, that happened to me, and I didn't have a safe place to go to.
Or I had been denied my whole life, like being told like that didn't happen. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
Dismissed and put down, and you're a child. You don't understand. That didn't happen.
Right.
You know? So it does matter. And what you do with your platform, I think it's incredible. Like, you had an opportunity to speak about those things, and you did. And that says a lot about your character and who you are. Because a lot of people get in that position and they won't, and they don't, because of
scary,
how you
or-
may be seen,
Yep.
or you
That's
said
true.
blacklisted, and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
these things. It's like, no, it's legit. Like, that shit actually happens.
Right.
But yeah, it's just a true testament of turning your pain into purpose. And, you even said it in the beginning of your pageants, you weren't able to, you kind of went this way and talked about substance use. You were never able to step into your power because of your own shame, your self-shame, and the fact that you weren't empowered and you were disempowered. And they said, no, that didn't happen. Or, so even you grew through that, like through the pageants of like finally being like, no, and then you fucking won. The moment you stepped into your authenticity and was like, wait, I'm going to share my story, like my shit. And that comes with power.
Right.
That turning that pain into purpose comes with power and comes with freedom, and you get to show up authentically who you are with your purpose and your passion and aligned. And every single human being's purpose and passion and what sets your soul on fire is when we are helping others.
Yes.
Yeah.
It may look completely different for every single human being,
Yeah.
Right.
but it's when that turns into how am I going to make my passion and purpose, it's going to have to impact other people
Yep.
in a good way.
Absolutely.
And you just can't fake authenticity.
Yeah.
Once you start showing up as yourself, it's like you become this
Magnet.
magnet, and you're attracting all the right people, and you're finding your community, and you're finding your voice and your confidence, and you can't fake that.
Yeah.
You can
You can only get so far
exactly.
with it, really.
Exactly.
And then all the people that aren't living authentic and they leave.
Yeah.
Right.
They leave
That's
because
true.
it's so uncomfortable for them to be around you in your full power. And that's not talked about enough either, right?
yeah.
Like these people
Yeah.
that we thought were going to be
Yep.
in our lives, and then you
Forever.
step into your power, and then they're
Whoa.
so not in their
Whoa.
power,
Yeah.
and they're living this fake lie of a life, and then you show up in all this glory and power, and they're like, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is wild, because usually, like, when that's happened in my life, I always blame myself, or I'm like, why did they leave? What did I do? But like,
honey.
looking back, it does make a lot of sense, because it's like, oh, when you're on your journey of like being the best you and really trying to find yourself and doing good and like all this stuff, if people aren't for that, or they don't want to see
Yep.
your success, or they're intimidated by it, yeah, they are going to peace out. They are going to leave. And
Yeah.
you just have to let them. You
Yeah,
gotta
they
let them
weren't-
go.
They weren't
Let
meant
them
for
go
the
in
long
peace.
run. Yeah,
Let
they
them go
weren't
in
meant for
peace.
the long run, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. It's so true. Everyone's in your life for a reason, a season, or a blessing, and it's
Lesson, blessings, lessons, seasons,
lessons,
all
lesson-
of it.
Yeah. Season, reason, lesson, blessing.
I love it.
So if there is one piece, we end the podcast with, if there's one piece of advice that you think your most valuable lesson that you've learned along the way, that you could share with the audience, or even something maybe you would want to tell your younger self, or,
I love that.
Yeah.
It's such a loaded question, you know?
It is a loaded
It's like
I'm
so
like,
much.
I
I
got
want to
this, I
sit
got
you down.
that.
I want to tell you everything.
We might need more than 10 seconds. But yeah, I don't know. What's like coming to me is like, do it scared, do it imperfect. You know, even if you're doubting yourself, do it, show up. Like, even if you don't like who you are, keep pushing. Even if you want change, keep doing it. Even if, you're shaking, speak. So
Yeah.
do it scared.
Do it
all
scared.
scared.
I say it all the time. Do it scared. That's
Do it
literally our
scared.
motto.
Yeah.
Because this, right? Like this whole situation, we didn't know what we were doing. Like I was like, this came like as an idea on a girls trip. And we were
Love
like,
that.
we're going to start a podcast. We're going to make a community. We're going to start a women's circle. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And then I was like, oh, wait, but how do we do a podcast? Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know what I need. What do we need to get? How do I edit? How
And
do
here
I,
you
know?
are with
Yeah.
this awesome setup.
And we were scared. That first episode was very intimidating. We came out of the closet with some real shit, and I don't think anyone was expecting that. And so that was vulnerable, and that was scary. And we didn't know how we were going to be perceived. Like, are they going to just ex-nay us out, or are they going to follow along?
Right.
And thank God a year later, here we are with a massive, beautiful community. But yeah, it could have gone real bad, but
Yeah.
we
Do it
did it
scared.
scared.
Did
We
it
did.
scared.
Do it scared.
You
I
shared
love
your
that so
truths. You were
much.
vulnerable and you were blessed. And here you are. That's so awesome.
Yeah, we thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh,
I know
thank
you're
you.
probably so busy and Maine is far, but we just appreciate you so much. And this was so beautiful, and I cannot wait to get it out.
I'm
Everyone
so
listen
grateful.
to it.
So grateful.
And we'll end the same way we start. One hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. Just let all the air out. Inhale in through the nose. And exhale, let that shit go. Thank y'all. We love you. Thank you for listening.
Thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen to what we have to say. It means the world. As always, we want to end this episode by reminding you that we are not medical professionals and we are not giving any type of medical advice. We are simply sharing our experience and solutions.
We are here with the intentions of reminding you that you are never alone and that everyone's healing journey is unique to the individual. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms to stay updated. Stay well, Sacred Rebels. See you next time.